This whole part of our planet has disappeared. It used to be a tectonic plate, but something that big doesn't just vanish without a trace. And the clues that led to its discovery started in this mysterious gap between South China and the island called Borneo. For a long time, people thought the sea between these two places sat on a tectonic plate called Izanagi, which no longer exists. But wait, how does a tectonic plate just vanish like that? Alright, tectonic plates are like pieces of a puzzle all connected together, but instead of sitting on a table, they're floating on this semi-fluid layer. So, they're always shifting and bumping into each other. And there's something else. Some pieces of this puzzle are heavier than others, and what happens is that eventually a heavier piece slips under a lighter one. Something similar happens with tectonic plates, but it's less about weight and more about density. When the edge of one plate sinks below another and gets pushed down into the mantle, that process is called subduction. But it's not just the edge that can sink. Entire massive plates from the past have completely vanished into the Earth's mantle. That's exactly what happened to the Izanagi plate about 130 million years ago. It started sliding under the Okhotsk plate, getting swallowed little by little. By around 55 million years ago, it was completely subducted and replaced by the Pacific plate. But the experts got it wrong. Turns out the ocean between these lands wasn't sitting on the Izanagi plate after all. Instead, it fits into this weird, unexplained gap, as if a piece of the puzzle was missing. Recently, researchers at Utrecht University finally discovered that this gap was actually a ghost tectonic plate that no one knew about, the Pontus plate. It got its name because back when it existed, it sat beneath the ancient Pontus Ocean. But if it vanished so long ago, how did experts find it, right? Luckily, tectonic plates sometimes leave traces before they completely disappear. But instead of investigating footprints or fingerprints, it's more about looking for rocks. That's because rocks have a special power to record Earth's magnetic field. You know, that invisible shield that protects our planet from space threats like solar wind and cosmic rays. Knowing this, researchers traveled to Borneo to collect and study the rocks over there. And they discovered something odd. These stones were originally from a much farther north region. To unravel the mystery, scientists used computer models to study the region's geology over the last 160 million years. Thanks to this technology, they were able to piece together the entire Pontus plate in all its glory. The rock samples collected in Borneo date back 135 million years, back when dinosaurs ruled the Earth. With this information, scientists realized that the Pontus plate was formed at least 160 million years ago, but it's probably even older than that. Although it is hard to pin down exactly when it was formed, one thing we can say for sure, it was huge. Unfortunately, by around 20 million years ago, it said bye-bye to the planet sinking and being completely pushed under the Australian plate to the south and China to the north. Other clues have also been found in Palawan, an island in the western Philippines and in the South China Sea. This region is like a playground for geologists since it sits at the crossroads of several tectonic plate systems. Hey, quick question. How many continents are there? 7? Maybe 5? There's no correct answer. According to different approaches, the range is between 4 to 7, but it might actually be as many as 8. Chances are, a lost continent has recently been found between Greenland and Canada. This new continent discovery could also potentially be the key to how microcontinents form. Zealandia is a submerged microcontinent near New Zealand. About 94% of it lies underwater. But because it's made of continental crust, many geologists say it qualifies as Earth's 8th continent. Unlike Madagascar, which is fully above sea level and widely accepted by geologists as a classic example of a microcontinent, Zealandia is still waiting for a proper label. First, they use seismic reflection imaging. That's a method where ships send sound waves down to the ocean floor and record how they bounce back. Satellites also play a role in collecting gravity data. This may sound strange, but different types of rocks have slightly different weights. Another tool commonly used for these explorations is underwater sensors, which sit quietly on the sea floor and listen for natural vibrations like many earthquakes or shifts in rock. They also most likely used AUVs or autonomous underwater vehicles, basically robot submarines that can scan the seafloor in high resolution, even under thick ice. A long, long time ago, a huge meteorite smashed into the Earth with a horrible destructive power. It was several times bigger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Now, scientists think it did leave behind a huge footprint, the massive Antarctica impact crater that is bigger than the entire state of New York, a strange gravity hole or a negative gravity anomaly. Later, with better technology, they found something even weirder. There was a positive gravity anomaly inside that gravity hole, a spot with stronger gravity. When a meteor hits hard enough, it punches through the Earth's crust and shakes the mantle below. It can spring back up and leave behind a super dense plug of material, which causes stronger gravity right in the center of the crater. In 2018, scientists used advanced scanning techniques to study and map the Wilkes Land meteorite impact in more detail than ever before. Measuring ancient craters is really tricky. Over 2 billion years, erosion wears away the edges, and newer rocks form over the crater. To figure out its true size, scientists studied minerals like quartz and zircon found around the crater. These minerals still have fractures and shock patterns that show us how powerful the blast was. Wilkes Land anomaly isn't the only case on our planet where gravity is acting weirdly. For over 40 years, scientists were trying to solve a strange mystery in Canada. Parts of the country, especially around Hudson Bay, seem to have less gravity than the rest of the world. The first out of the two main theories to explain the Hudson Bay mystery has to do with magma. Yes, that super hot gooey rock deep under our planet's surface. The second area has to do with the Laurentide ice sheet, a massive glacier that covered much of Canada during the last ice age. Because it was so heavy, the ice pressed the land down like a thumb on a sponge. To figure this out, scientists used super advanced satellites, which floated around 300 miles above Earth for several years. These satellites flew in pairs and detected how far apart they were pulled as they passed over areas like Hudson Bay to measure tiny changes in gravity. The effects of this are still visible, and while sea levels are rising in most parts of the world, the land around Hudson Bay is rising so fast that sea levels there are actually dropping. So there's a mysterious doorway in the middle of Antarctica. Some people think it's Bigfoot's vacation home or a shuttlecraft from Star Trek, or maybe a door to Agartha, a mythical kingdom some people believe is located in the center of the Earth. One YouTuber found another out-of-place mysterious object more than 150 meters off the shore of Antarctica, a 400-foot-long ice ship. Another mysterious Google Maps find in Antarctica was a pyramid. And before you make up an exciting theory about how the ancient Egyptians built a secret base here, I have to tell you, it turned out to be just a mountain. A special submarine robot named RAN covered over 600 miles under the thick ice and brought back some amazing footage of icy mountains, valleys, flat plateaus, and swirly patterns made entirely of ice. Now, there's a frozen lake in Antarctica called Lake Enigma. For a long time, people thought the lake was completely frozen solid. But during one expedition, researchers found that under the thick ice, there was a layer of liquid water about 40 feet deep. These tiny microbes lived in mats that covered the lake bed. Some of the mats were thin and spiky, and others looked like crumpled carpets or even small tree-like shapes that grew up to 16 inches. One more mind-boggling discovery from Antarctica is tiny pieces of amber and mudstone found here for the very first time. Amber proves that resin-producing trees once grew in Antarctica, part of a lush rainforest that existed near the South Pole during the mid-Cretaceous period. A scientist was browsing through satellite images for brown trails of penguin waste and found 4 new colonies of emperor penguins at the base of the globe. Now there used to be a giant river system in Antarctica 40 million years ago. Researchers found proof of it after studying soft sediments and hard rocks from the frozen seabed. Now, history teaches us that the supercontinent existed a long time ago, around 300 to 273 million years back. At that time, all the continents on Earth were buddies and hanging out together. They formed an amazing crew called Pangea.